Welcome to the Men of Yoga podcast, where we talk about everything because everything gets to be here. Today's special guest is Andy, also known as Yoga Boy on Instagram, who, by the way, was one of Men of Yoga's first ever followers. He now lives in Spain, and he's going to talk to us about how Madonna got him into yoga and, of course, his coming out story. It's a big one, and it stirred up a lot of feelings in all of us. So we're sure that it will you as well. So make sure that you're sitting in a comfortable place and taking deep breaths. Let's go on a journey.
Here we go. Recording is now on.
Yay! Welcome,
Lights on.
welcome back, everybody. This is Off the Mat with Coco and Gayru, and today we also have our guest, Andy from UK, known as Yoga Boy.
I am. How are
What's
you
up,
guys?
Yoga Boy?
What's up? What's up? How you doing?
Say hi
I'm
real quick.
doing
There's
great.
Andy. There's
You
my
didn't have
hubby.
to do your hair
Hi,
for us
who's that
today.
lurking in the background? Yo, yo, yo. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Andy?
There's Coco.
Good, really well. How are you guys?
We're good.
So nice to see you in oh my goodness,
Yeah.
a healthy glow. Let's put it that way.
We try. Hey,
Yeah.
Coco.
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing, sweetie?
I'm doing really good. No complaints.
Oh, I bet there's some.
Yeah, that's a lie. I definitely have complaints.
I mean, there's
No
a lot.
complaints.
Yeah, there's loads.
No complaints
I
that
was
I'm going to
gonna say-
share with you
I
guys
was-
right now.
Yeah. Give us a few minutes. We'll come up with
Yeah,
something.
we'll make a list. Let's start bullet pointing.
I'm trying not to think about them. I'm
Hey,
not
don't
giving
do
them
it.
energy. Nope.
Don't do it. Give all the good energy. I'll send all the good energy through the waves of the internet and the oceans.
Yes. Before we get into it, I do want to thank my sponsors.
Good
Men
for
of
you.
Yoga, for which is totally responsible for bringing all the men's together. So merch is available online. Go to menofyoga.men, boys. So
Love those t-shirts. Very super cool.
I know, right? So I did some homework, Andy. I know that
Uh-oh.
you and I've known each other for quite some time online, and
Can't believe
I-
it. I know.
I had to scroll through like my notes, and
Oh, sorry.
the first time we had made contact was in March of 2021, and
Wow.
we featured you on Men of Yoga on April 2nd, 2021.
Did.
And then you and I, along with Alex and Michael, did a live class of March 26, 2022.
We did. Gosh.
So we have some history there. And so, so here's my introduction, I suppose. So I've known Andy for all this time. And Andy is like one of the yogis that's on point every day. There's some kind of yoga inspo that he's posting. So it's almost like I've seen your journey, and I've seen you like doing like these new things and tinkering with different sets, and like right now you're in a different set again. So welcome. It's an honor to have you join us for our
Pleasure
show.
to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah. So anyway, if you don't mind, Andy, tell us a little bit about yourself and like.
Well, it's so interesting that you say that, because I remember when you guys featured me, that was right at the start of my change in life, as it were. I was going from full-time job in costume and TV and film, because I was a stylist for 25 years. That's what I did. I worked in TV and film. But yoga was always running parallel to that. I've been practicing yoga now for 25 years, and it was always running parallel. And I never thought that I would be good enough to teach, because I'm a completely different aesthetic to all that we see online. I'm the bigger set. I'm the heftier guy. I'm the guy that can't really do the back bends very well because I'm not an ex-dancer and all that kind of stuff. And I remember saying to my yoga teacher, she asked me what is yoga for me, and I said, I just want to learn how to do handstands and splits. And she's like, okay, let's rein it in. Let's before we can go there. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I've been doing it for years, And she's like, yeah, let's rein it in. And I remember when I was about to leave work full time to make the move with my husband to come to Spain, because we were relocating to Spain, and you guys featured me, and I was like, oh my God, someone's actually paid attention and featured me on this platform. And there's some really good looking guys on here that are incredible at yoga, and I'm part of that thread now. And it didn't obviously I'm confident enough in myself to believe in myself, obviously, but not every day. And that was a moment when it just really transpired that I just thought, do you know what, maybe I'm good enough to be good enough alongside these amazing human beings. And it wasn't the I needed that validation, but it was almost a confirmation, which was a really, really inspiring thing. So I just thank you so much for that privilege on that. And then everything sort of like went on from that, like meeting you guys and meeting Alex. Like, we now chat quite regularly. I'm hoping to go over to Australia in February. Hopefully we can hook up. Michael, I chat with so often. We're always like, well, I call each other, I call us pen pals, because you never really know anyone on Instagram, do you? You're always just chatting, but you become kind of like a weird real friend to these people on Instagram, and you kind of look out for them. You kind of look out for them. Like, I hadn't heard from Michael in a while, and I checked in with him, and he's really happy, got a new love now, enjoying his life. And it was like, oh, I'm so proud, I'm so pleased for you. We were just chatting, and then every now and again, like a couple of days ago, we just checked in with each other, and we would just say, how you doing? And it's just a really lovely way. And you guys out of Men of Yoga have a huge part to play in that, and I think that's something that you guys should be really proud of.
Well, thank you.
Oh, so good.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm going to add to that and say, because we all kind of started on this platform together. Like, I didn't know what we were doing. Well, originally, I mean, it was OF Men of Yoga, and it was because we actually started an OnlyFans. That's how it started. Right. And then I realized, and to me, it dawned on me, it's like, well, I mean, what am I really trying to put out there? And it's like, I don't want to turn people off in terms of like it's a sex site or an OnlyFans site, but that's where it started. And so I paid homage to that, because I was working with people who are in the nude space. But quite frankly, the Men of Yoga space, Andy, is like because of people like you and guys like you that helped actually grow. So you might think of it like, oh my God, I'm with these guys. Like, Andy, we started that.
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful.
So yeah, so we're old school, and we're old gangster in that regard. So I just want to let you know that you were part of that foundation. So you didn't jump into the pool. You created it with me. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, man. That's so nice.
Of course, of course.
But it's also the same, in the same vein as I'm not somebody that fits into that Instagram aesthetic, as in the aesthetic that sells, let's say. I'm not this beautiful, ripped dancer, gorgeous looking guy with, I mean, listen, I don't think I'm ugly or bad or anything like that, but I know the aesthetic that people give the likes to. And I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. It was so interesting. Somebody that's an influencer on, they do sort of, I don't really know what they do, Money Mist or something. I'm not really sure. And she was saying to me, you should take your top off more and you'll get more likes. And I'm like, yeah, it's not really my thing. But I'm not really that desperate for the likes. However, I do occasionally take my top off, and I do occasionally do stuff, but it's not necessarily my thing is about yoga, right? It's about giving people that confidence. And if I can give people that body confidence in showing them that my body is a bit dad bod, then I'm good to go. I'm good to go with that, But also the other thing she said is, oh, you need to edit your videos more and make them more clear because they look a bit raw. And I'm like, dude, I want them to be raw. I want people to see that I can't really go into lizard that easily without really warming up and getting down. Like I say, power to those that do. And I love all the Davids. I love all the Michaels. I love all the Alexes that can do it. And I think that's incredible. They've worked really hard to get there, and there's not taking that away from them. But I also want to portray the other side of it, that I'm not that guy. I have to work at it. I have to really find my rawness to go through it. And I want that to be portrayed. I want that to be shown. That's what I'm about.
Well, thank you. You do represent like a huge, there's a huge daddy demographic out there that's like looking at you from, it's a trip.
I don't know if I want to be old enough to be called daddy yet.
But my husband and I, we were in the background for so long with the yoga space. We've had like superstars who can like do all these fancy tricks, and they were, lack of a better term, they're aesthetically more with the Lululemon looks.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, listen, it has its space. It has its space.
Yeah, but and at some point though, it's like we realize it's like, well, wait a minute, we're all going to be aging. We're all having all these other like things that we're not super confident about because we're not used to putting ourselves in front. that's really it. Like once you get used to being in front of a camera, or once, like for instance, this podcast, like I never set out to have a podcast until I met like Coco, and Coco brings this energy out of me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, we need to show the spectrum of like what it's like to be early 30s and somebody who's going to be 50 plus.
I look
You
good.
know, like, we all get to be here and show what yoga looks like for
Yeah.
for ourselves. And if you know, especially if we're going to be talking in front of an audience, it's like there's so much more
Absolutely.
beyond the aesthetics, you
And
know.
Will,
And
you
so
know what, as well, not every day is the same. Like, yeah, I was saying to these people, yeah, I want to be raw, I want to be authentic, but that doesn't mean to say that one day I want to take my top off and do a sexy post. Doesn't mean to say that I'm not going to turn around and do lots of edits on my videos because I want to Madonna it up. You know, there's lots of layers to me. I'm not just going to turn around and say, no, I'm not going to do that because that's not what I'm about and I have to stick to my guns. We change everything. The aesthetic changes every single day. And why do I want to be just one thing? And if I'm going to turn around tomorrow and make a fancy edit and pay somebody to do this amazing post, nothing wrong with that. It's just a case of that's how I wanted to be on that day. But generally speaking, my posts are raw. And also, if I'm totally honest, because I'm a technophobe, or not technophobe, because I'm techno stupid, I haven't got the inclination or the time or the understanding. I mean, I'm constantly messaging my 28-year-old niece going, I don't understand how to edit this. How do you make... So to sit there, I mean, the reels and posts that I do on Instagram take me long enough. I don't need to be sitting there trying to figure out how to edit and how to put things out there. Listen, I'm a 40-year-old man, and I'm just like, I don't need to be like trying to edit this or that and the other. I spend way too much time as it is looking down at screen. I don't need to be trying to figure that all out as well. But no one wants to do it for me though. Come on, I love it.
yeah, bring it. So
Bring it.
let's do you have any questions, Coco, so far?
Sorry, I've just waffled on.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I don't have any questions yet, but I will say that I definitely like being on social media and being on Instagram specifically, since that's the platform we're all talking about and the one that connected us all, is such a weird experience, really. It's like, you know, I was new to social media when I met Gayru. Also, like I was just starting to get into it because I moved out to the middle of nowhere and had no way of networking or meeting people or having a social life without social media. But it does force you kind of into like a certain direction and a certain path. And even I experience kind of like both sides of kind of what you're talking about. Cause like I feel I'm just gonna say it. I feel like I fucked up my Instagram account by, you know, like trying to promote myself in so many different ways.
Well, that's good though, no?
No, it's not. It's really not, because like people
For
want you to
Instagram
be...
or for you?
I'm sorry, what?
You said it's not really good to promote yourself in so many different ways, and I'm asking, is it not good for Instagram or for you?
It's not good for the person, I feel. It's like really hard to you know, cast a wide net and have people see and appreciate these different facets of you. And if you build an audience that, because you're hot, if you build an audience by doing sexy posts, most of those people only want that from you. And then they don't care if you show up and you're like, I'm sorry, I don't feel sexy today, I don't look sexy today, but that's not the point of this post. It just like, they don't care.
But
And
put it out there anyway.
I do. But
Good.
like also like trying to be sexy on Instagram also got me shadow banned. So like I can't even grow my audience anymore without like tons of effort. So yeah, I think it's really good to, you know, like if what your purpose is to show people yoga, you know, keep it about that. And
Absolutely.
sometimes
Hey,
I
listen,
really
don't get me
wish...
wrong. I'd like to be sexy every now and again. Don't get me wrong. I'm
uh
not pushing away that sexy thing. But no, I hear you.
It's just like you get really like, it's very easy. Basically what I'm trying to say is like it's very easy to like just get trapped into like a box.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be like, you know, sometimes I'll go through a phase where I start to grow an audience of people that I feel are more interested in like the deeper things that I'm sharing, or you know, coachy and yoga type stuff, and then I'll come out with a sexy post out of nowhere, and then they're all of a sudden like, oh my god, and they like unfollow me. Or, you know, like if I'm catering to, and I'm not just catering to people, I mean, it's all real parts of me. So like if I'm like,
Oh,
I feel sexy, or, you know,
yeah.
I feel sexy today, I'm gonna make a sexy post, and like the people who love that, but then other people generally aren't like, oh cool, like he's being sexy today, but that's not for me, whatever, you know, like people don't have a neutral feeling about it. So it, like, being sexy sometimes, and it just like, it's just like this
It's crazy,
constant
isn't it?
roller
It's crazy to
coaster.
think that people are in a mindset where they can only believe or understand one thing or a certain level of thing. And as soon as that shifts, even though as humans, I believe we have a trillion different levels and a trillion different things, and even those that are observing you, don't they have a trillion different mindsets? But
You
obviously
would
they're so
think.
conditioned, well, they're conditioned to not have, right? So that's the point. As soon as they see you move in a different direction, whether it's the sexy or whether it's not the sexy, they'll suddenly go, don't understand. Well, what don't you understand? That I'm feeling a different way today. And also
Right.
my mindset and my attitude isn't just so. It can move around with the tide, man. Everything changes. So I could be sitting here saying to you today, no, that's not what I'm putting out there. I want it to be raw. Maybe in a year's time, my whole aesthetic will change. Who knows? And I'm open to that and I'm welcome to that. And it's not that I'm sitting here vehemently saying, no, I'm never going to do that. No, I'm never going to. But for now, that's where I'm at. Maybe in a year's time, I'm going to start doing these crazy edits and putting all this stuff out there, and I'm going to become this whiz on the computer.
The technology switch is gonna flip.
I don't somehow, not sure. I'm still back in old school where I'm typing on my typewriter, but it's that kind of. But who knows? But I find it really interesting, and I don't want to say sad, because it's not sad, because people are as they are, but I find it really interesting when you say that you lose followers or you get shadow banned or something happens because you decide to go in a different direction one day.
Yeah. And it happens because, yeah, it happens only because people want to put you in a certain bucket. Like, okay, this is all, you know, we would have a guest here, for instance, who is like known for like super mega postures and advanced and stuff. And at the moment that we start talking a bit more serious, you know, it might turn some people off. Like, no, can we just stick to the handstands? You know what I mean? It's a trip. And I think I speak for some of the experiences I've had with Coco. It's like he is known to be a very aesthetic and very like alluring figure. And when he starts speaking his mind or his feelings, it's like all, we don't really, you know what I mean? It's a trip. However,
you can have a mind too.
Yes, I will say this. I think a lot of it has to do with also branding and what you put out there, because it's a clickbait. So if I'm going to say I'm yoga therapist Will, and out of nowhere I start my titties, it's like, whoa, what's that got to do with therapy? You know? So
we could read a lot into what it has to do with therapy, actually.
But you know what I mean? Totally. So it's I think it's branding, it's clickbait, but I think when people kind of get your flow, then that's when you know that like, oh, they're really into my work, not just me, but like what my work, you know?
Yeah. And I think as well, we're so very easy at putting ourselves in boxes, and we do it to ourselves as well because we show what we want to show, right? But also algorithms are very difficult because we're learning now, especially with all the AI, everything that's going on, algorithms will only show you what you're interested in. So there's no other new room for discussion.
Right.
So nothing is challenging you. Nothing is giving you something new because the algorithm is coming in and saying, oh, you only like, because you're hot or you're just showing raw or you're just showing, they'll only show you that sort of stuff. And I'm like, but I want to see everything. I don't want to just see what I do. I know what I do. I understand my mind. I want to know what everyone else is doing. I want to see what everyone else can do and how they can do it. I'm not against however anyone else wants to portray themselves. In fact, I thrive off that because that's what I want to learn. I want to see something and just go, oh man, that's so interesting. Or I want to see something that's going to inspire me and just go, maybe I won't do it the same way, but I'm going to find my way around it. I don't want to be being told what to always like from the things that I already like. Well, I know what I like. So can we just challenge and have some inspiration, please? And we want to see different stuff all the time.
Absolutely. So Andy, tell me, so how and why yoga? How did that happen? When did you invest in your first mat?
Do you want to? I think Gary, you're going to love this. And it's been a long time since somebody's asked me this question. I have to be completely honest. I really want to say something profound, But I've got to be completely honest. Madonna did yoga in the 90s.
That was the correct answer for Gayru.
I'm done. Mic drop moment. Wait, are you
Seriously,
serious?
oh,
What the
there was
fuck
other
just happened?
factors, but
What is
there was other. Let's say yes. No, there were other factors, but that was the big one. Now, I'm a really wannabe dancer. I wanted to dance since I was a kid. I really got. You guys won't know who Five Star are. They were like the British version of the Jacksons, and they were, you
all
know.
fall down?
There we go, babe. So my sister was a huge Jacksons fan. I was a huge Five Star fan. My older sister was a George Michael fan. And we were all very musical in our family. My sisters are professional singers. We were all musical. And I just wanted to dance, but I was told ever since I was a kid that I was too fat. And every show I went to, they were always like, oh, you're really good, but you're a bit fat, so you're not going to be in it. And it was what it was. It was how it was. I'm not going to sit here and worry about it. And then a cousin of mine started doing yoga, and she went a few times a week. And it was at that time when Madonna started really bringing it in, wearing the Kabbalah bracelets and all that kind of stuff. And I remember thinking, oh, that's interesting. Ray of Light. I like that sound. It's really, I mean, I've always been a humongous fan of Madonna. Backlog since I was, my first record was Lucky Star when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. And I remember thinking, oh, well, Madonna's doing it and she looks really hot. So I'm going to try it because I don't like going to the gym. I'm not a gym boy. I've tried many times and I know it's good for me, but it's just not my bag. So I went to my first yoga class, and her name was Norma, and she was about 75 years old. And I walked in and it wasn't like Madonna at all. And I was like, oh, what? So I just remember thinking, this little old lady's going to teach me how to do yoga. What's going on? It was in a gym, in one of the studios in the gym. And she came up to me very softly spoken. She said, have you ever done yoga before, darling? And I went, no. And she went, okay, we'll just figure out and see how you go. Just remember to breathe. That was it. I remember her sitting down, not having a clue what she was going on about. She was moving her leg, telling me to inhale and exhale. I was like, what are you doing? And then Shavasana came round, and I remember walking out of that room like I literally floated on a cloud. And still to this day, she was probably the most inspiring, well, one of the most inspiring teachers I've ever had, because she was this old lady that was doing these positions that I'd never even heard of. But she got me to relax and release. Now, I've got a very busy mind. So to get me to find a way to channel and to create a little space for myself is a big ask. And ever since then, I just kept on going back. Didn't know what I was doing. And it took probably about 3 to 5 months really to understand her rhythm, understand what it was, how she went. And then, of course, she was an old lady. She wasn't there anymore. Another new teacher came in. It was nice. I kept on going. But after skip through many, many years, I started doing it on my own. I got some videos at home. I didn't want to stop it. It was something that I carried on doing. But life goes up and down. Sometimes you do it 5 times a week. Sometimes you do it once every 2 weeks. It was just the way it went. But I always know that when I didn't practice, for some reason, I would become a little bit more anxious, a little bit more testy, a little bit more, didn't sleep very well, so many different things. And then it was coming up to my 40th birthday, so almost 10 years ago now. I remember saying to my husband, I either want a personal trainer or I want a personal yoga teacher. And he said to me, why don't you get a personal yoga teacher? You hate the gym. And I was like, I know, but how's a personal yoga teacher going to work? I don't really know how that's going to work. Anyway, I found a yoga teacher called Jodie, who is probably almost saved my life. She is incredible. And she's the one who sat me down and said, okay, so what do you want to learn from yoga? I said, I want to do all the things. I want to do the handstands. I want to do the splits. I want to be like this and that. She's like, okay, but what do you know about yoga? I'm like, what do you mean? And she was like, what do you know about the breath? Do you know about, the pranayamas? Do you know? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just do the exercises, man. I just, I know what I'm doing. And then she said, how long have you been doing yoga? And I went, about 15 years at this point. And then we started doing yoga, and she literally broke it down, stripped it right back to the basics, and started explaining. Like, for the first couple of months, we were doing a lot of talking, and she was talking about pranayama. She was talking about all the breath work and chakras and all the layers and everything. And it wasn't that I was getting bored. I was interested, but I wanted to do movement. That's what I was there about. And I was just like, oh, this is all just, and I don't know what happened, but probably about 6 weeks in, something just kicked in. And I just thought, oh my God, everything she's saying is making sense. It's working for me. And then we started moving, but mindfully, moving with chakras, moving through pranayama or prana, moving with rhythm of breath, opening space. And I was just like, what's just happened to me? It was almost that I reached that
Yeah.
that point where you're
Yeah.
just like, I get it. And I
Yeah.
remember saying to my husband, why is it resonating with me so much? And why doesn't it resonate with you? Why isn't it resonating with everyone? I don't understand. Everyone should know about this. This is magic. And then she said to me about 3 or 4 years in, after we'd been practicing religiously every week and learning, and the things I learned from her were astounding. And I still have her voice in my head all the time when I'm teaching and when I'm doing something. It's beautiful. And really, really interesting. One of my students now, she's come to my class and she looks exactly and sounds like Jodie. And I sent Jodie a picture. I said, I think the universe has sent somebody for you to look over me in the looks of you, which is really interesting. She said to me, why don't you learn to teach it? I think you'd be a really good teacher. I went, no way. I'm not the sort of person that wants to, I'm not the person that people want to come to yoga teachers. I'm not very good at it. I'm still really stiff and I'm clunky. She was like, you're crazy. You have it in you. And I was like, oh, anyway. And my husband kept on saying, you should do it. Jodie said you should do it. I was like, no, I'm not going to be, I'm not good enough. You know, I'm great to be in a class, but I still can't do certain things and I can't do everything. She said to me, I can't do everything. She goes, what can't you do that, you know? Anyway, and then my husband found a course from Yoga London, which sadly no longer exists. And they were literally at the top of my road, opening their classes up to wannabe teachers. And my husband said, you can't not do it. It's 10 minutes walk up the road. You've got to do it. And I'm like, yeah, but it's really expensive. And at the time I wasn't, you know, he said, I'm enrolling you. If you don't enroll, I'm enrolling you. And I was like, wow. So I enrolled, and I remember it was February the 14th, Valentine's Day, 2020, just before COVID. And I walked in and I looked at 14 other students, and it was, again, I'm a pretty confident guy and I know my self-worth and I'm very good with being around many different people and I love everybody. But these guys were athletes. I mean, it was just like, I was like, oh shit. Everyone was in their Lululemons. Everyone had their life forms. Actually, I did buy a life form just before I started because I wanted to look good. But
What is a
everyone
life
was
form?
one of the mats, you know, the life form mats.
I don't know about that.
And I just, yeah, I just kind of walked in and just thought, what the hell am I doing? Anyway, the teacher, who was incredible, who we had through the whole journey, and it stopped for a few weeks during COVID, and then we went on to online, then we went back into in person. He gave me so much inspiration that now, without trying to take the ego out of it, and I'm really not trying to sound egotistical, but out of 14 students, I think I'm the only one that is remaining now teaching full-time.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
That's not to say that they're still not doing
Nice.
their classes. That's not to say that they're not doing well. I'm sure they are. I don't really know any of them anymore. But I know for a fact that I found my calling, if you will, and it resonated me with so much that now I'm even considering going to my 500 hours to teach how to teach teachers how to become yoga teachers.
Beautiful.
But I have to start a year before I can do that. But it's just, that's kind of where my yoga journey.
That's amazing. So amazing. So when did Yoga Boy come to life on Instagram? Because I had linked with you just a year before. Did you already like start posting yoga before you became a teacher, or was it when you started?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I decided I was going to do the course, the Yoga London course, that's when I decided to start on Instagram. But again, being techno rubbish, I had to ask my nephew how I set up another Instagram and what do I do? And what do I call myself? Do I want to call myself Yoga Boy? How will that stick? Bit weird name. But now it's kind of stuck. I've got my logo and people know me as Yoga Boy. Even people in the street here in Spain, they walk down, oh, you're Yoga Boy. You know, they all see me, they know me. But yeah, it was just the year before. So you say March 2021, we connected.
Mm-hmm.
So it was probably around lockdown. So probably around, yeah, it was actually in lockdown, probably April 2020 that I started my Instagram. And it was very small. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to tag people. I didn't know what hashtagging meant. I didn't get all this stuff. But my nephew taught me how, and
Yeah.
I started
And
tagging.
look at you now.
Wow, you know.
You're everybody's bestie on Instagram.
Oh, come on, no way.
Y'all are so
Listen,
cute. Y'all are so cute when y'all comment on each other's posts and stuff because I reshare everybody's posts. They
you
tag
do.
Men of Yoga, and every morning I have this ritual. Like everybody's goes on the story and you can just see everybody commenting. I'm like, look at these boys. So one of the
It
things
is
that one
lovely
of the
community.
things that like we ask our guests, if you don't mind sharing your coming out story.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
this
yeah,
one's
your coming out story and however you came out, and
well,
tell
this
us a little
one's
bit
quite a
about
tough
that.
one. So brace yourselves. I hope you're sitting down.
We're seeing let's
You're sitting down. Listen, you
Seatbelt
have
is
to
on.
remember,
Yeah.
I come from a Greek Cypriot family. I come from a Greek Cypriot background. So coming out at 27 years ago was not the done thing in your Greek Cypriot world at all. It wasn't really known about. We didn't have internet. We probably had gay people on TV, but it was always written about and slandered and things like that. And I remember back when I was a kid, understanding that I was gay, but not really putting a label to it and not understanding it by watching Tarzan with my dad. And I remember the black and white Tarzan with Marcus, whatever his name is. I can't remember his the really famous Tarzan, black and white German guy or Austrian, whatever he was. And I remember watching it. Now, I was about 7 years old, and I remember thinking, I love Jane's bikini, but Tarzan is hot. And I just remember that moment. And then when I sort of grew up, I had girlfriends, I did the thing, but I never really thought about being gay. Because I didn't have that concept in my head. I didn't really know that, oh, I like boys, but I always knew that I gravitated towards them, but not as a friend. I was not very good at being friends with guys. I wasn't able to connect because all my guy friends were footballs and cars and macho stuff, you know? And I was wanting to do routines to 5 Star in my bedroom and sing Nina Simone songs and learn Ella Fitzgerald and do things like dance to Madonna and learn every single routine that Janet Jackson has ever created. I was that guy. My dad was, because my family is so musical, my dad was very open to that. And he always used to say, if you want to be a dancer, go and be a dancer. I can't make you be a dancer, but you have to study, you have to, all of this stuff. And when I was about 17, I remember my mum asked me if I was gay in a very accusing way, in her best way. She didn't know how else to be, but she just said, are you gay? And I, no, mum, of course I'm not gay. Don't be stupid, blah, blah, blah. And I brushed it off. And I remember thinking, am I? Am I? Am I? And then I thought, no, and I shut it down. I went to university, I had girlfriends, all that. And then in the middle of university, I went to a club called Car Wash, which we used to go here. I used to go in London quite regularly. Center of London, really cool club. Everyone dressed in 70s gear, disco music, full on. Everyone was dancing, doing their thing. And because I was such a crazy dancer, I wasn't a drinker at that time. I didn't really drink alcohol, but I would dance all night on the stage. I thought I was in Studio 54. I was doing it until I was like literally bashing down the horses that come in. I was going crazy. And I remember my first ever encounter was with my husband. Now, so I met him, and I was talking to him about his shirt, and it was a piss ugly shirt. It was awful. And I said, "Oh, where'd you get that shirt from? It's really horrible." Blah. I was being really mean, nasty, in a joking banter, and we kissed. And I was just like, I didn't know if I was bothered about it because I thought maybe I'm okay with this. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, that was that. Didn't see him for 2.5 years. I gave him my number, but this was the days before mobile phones, guys. So I had to speak my number to him and he had to go and find a piece of paper and write it down in the club. Anyway, he called me the next day when I got in, and because I was living at my parents at the time, and my mum said, "Oh, John's on the phone." And I went, "Which John?" I said, "Oh, no, tell him I'll call him later." And she goes, "No, it's not cousin John." And I was like, shit. So this guy's called me. Anyway, fast forward 2 years, I went to university, didn't speak to John, nothing. We didn't have any contact at all. We exchanged numbers, and that was that. Went to university, and then obviously at university, experiments started to happen. Not always good experiments, depending on where it was, wherever you could find your kicks back in the early 2000s. Back in the late 90s. God, what am I talking? So this was like 96, 95, 96. And I was at university studying art and studying costume design for theatre and doing all kinds of stuff, you know, as you do. And then I phoned my husband after many, many years of doing silly things and said to him, can we meet? I need to tell somebody something. And I had to come out because I did go through a period of about 3 months of, I'm going to call it as much of depression as I can call it. I'm not a depressed character and I don't have that depression in me, but I was down and I was getting to a point where I was not really understanding my own self. And I got into quite a dark place where nothing was making sense. I couldn't understand my thoughts anymore. I remember, honest to God, this sounds humorous, but it was quite serious. I remember being in a seminar and we were talking about how bodies and shapes can really influence your mind. And we were looking at porn magazines in this thing, not as a porn thing, but just as how is it influencing your mind. And there was a girl called Vicky who was in class and she was the most beautiful girl in the class. And I remember looking at her, she was wearing a low-cut top, and I kept on staring at her boobs, thinking, find them attractive. Find them attractive. And I was almost willing myself to, and I just couldn't, because every time we looked at the porn magazine, I was getting turned on by these guys looking gorgeous, you know? And I remember going home that night thinking, fuck, I must be gay. I must be gay. Of course I'm gay after the 1.5 years that I had experimenting. I mean, seriously, did I not know then? But I didn't want to put it in my mind and I didn't want to say those words. I thought I was just going through this phase, trying to experiment, doing what I wanted.
Denial is so powerful.
So honestly, and you know that you don't really understand how powerful denial is until about 10 years later.
Yep. It freaks
Crazy.
me out. I still sometimes lose sleep over how much I've blinded myself to the truth at different times in my life. And it makes me sometimes feel scared. Like, how can I trust that I'm not in that now
Right.
in some way? Like, how can I know that I'm not like manipulating my own reality now?
But
It sometimes really freaks me out.
Coco, it
But
goes back to what you said earlier about those people that stop following you because you've changed your path on a day on Instagram. They're such in denial of life that they're, you know, just deciding not. Denial is such a power. It really is a powerful thing. And I
yes,
really put myself in denial. I really didn't want. I wanted to be okay with experimenting because I was good at that. And I like trying new things and I like being not influenced. I like being inspired and I like inspiring and all that kind of stuff. So I was good with that. But when it actually came to the point when I thought, fuck, I'm gay, I knew in that instant my life would not be the same again. And I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I knew my life would not be the same again. So I met Johnny and we were in Soho in London. And I said to him, look, I need to come out to somebody. And he just laughed. He went, you need to come out? He said, really? He goes, aren't you gay already? I was like, no, I'm not gay. Anyway, from that moment on, Johnny and I have been together 27 years. But 2 years in, I had to come out to my parents. And that was the most, I've actually started writing my novel letter, whatever you want to call it, about this. But growing up in a Greek family, it's never going to be spoken about. It's never going to be discussed. So I remember telling my sisters and they got really emotional and they cried for a day and they didn't understand it. I'm like, why are you crying? Modern world, come on, guys, what's the matter with you? And it didn't bother me that my sisters were upset because I knew they'd get over it. And they did. It took them 24 hours and they said, oh, we just feel like we've never really known you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You've always known me. I'm the same guy. I'm just gay. That was that. And because I was putting on this front, I was like, yeah, because I'm just gay now, I can do this. And then I remember having to come out to my parents, and it was the week after my mum's birthday. And because I was living away from home at that time, she said, oh, should we go out for lunch? We should go out for dinner. And I said, I really want to talk to you about something. And my older sister came and sat next to me and she held my hand and my mum said, what's happening? And I won't give you all the gritty details, but I literally said to her, I need to tell you something. I'm not like other boys that are my friends. And she said, what are you talking about? And she knew instantly. She could see her mind switch. And I said, I'm gay. I just said it, like ripped the band-aid off. And she turned away from me and started wailing. Like, I hope she's not going to see this because she doesn't want to relive this, but she started wailing like, yeah, it was hard. It was like somebody had died and she couldn't get to grips with it. She went up into her bedroom, shut the door, and all I could hear was, it's almost like a Greek mother wailing at her son's funeral. That's the only way I can describe it. It was guttural. My dad stood up and he said, I thought I had two daughters and a son, not 3 daughters. I was like, what? I'm not trans. But throughout all this, I never, ever, ever held it against them. I've never been angry. They didn't understand it. And my dad is the best person I know. He's so good at trying to understand what he doesn't understand, even when it's so tough for him. And I remember the next day, I remember waking up and thinking, oh God, am I going to have a family? Are they going to love me? Because I'm so close with my family. And I didn't know where I was going to be at. And my dad, I said to my dad, are you going to disown me? Because I just thought, let's not mince around the words. I said, are you going to disown me? And he said, I will never disown you. He said, but you've had time to get used to this. Please give us time. And I just thought that's the best thing he could tell me, because I'm not going to sit there and bombard him and say to him, you have to believe in gay people. You have to understand gay people. Why don't you get it? Blah, blah, blah. But he said, but don't expect me to ask you questions about your life. I will ask you questions about your work, but I won't ask you questions about your life. And I thought, oh, fuck, I'm about to move in with this guy. How am I going to get around this? Anyway, it took a long time, guys. It was really difficult. John didn't meet my family for 2 years, at least, I think, after that. So we've been together now for about 4.5 years. I moved in with him. They didn't ask any questions. And then my nan died. And I remember it. My nan died. My dad's mum died. And about 2 weeks later, my mum said, Dad said, it was Christmas, around Christmas time. Dad said, why don't you, and we were at my sister's, and my sister lives about half an hour from my mum's. And she said, why don't you come round with John? We were all just like, oh my God, that's kind of insane. So we went round to my mum's, and it was really awkward, as you can imagine, but it was very civil. But my dad, when my dad spoke to Johnny, he looked through him. He didn't look at him for 2 years. He would talk to him kind of like through a side eye, because my dad couldn't bring the elephant in the room, he couldn't understand it. And it was after my nan died that he just made a switch. And I don't know what it is, but he suddenly started becoming friendly with Johnny. It was almost like he didn't have to pretend to his mother anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It was such a crazy, I've never had a conversation with him about it. But now, so the coming out was really difficult. My friends were all amazing. I mean, some of the friends that some of them said to me, they were like, oh my God, can I now stop telling people that you're not gay? Because for God's sake. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But my dad and now would rather have Johnny in the house than me. He's like, where's Johnny? Why isn't he here? What's going on?
Yeah.
They're really close with them now. And now I truly understand when people say they get really angry with their families because they don't understand. I'm like, give them time. You've had time to understand this. They haven't. And I've never held it against my mum. She said some pretty hurtful things that night, but I've never held it against her, because she said it out of fear, and she said it out of not understanding. She never said it to hurt me. She never said it to make me feel that I wasn't good enough. She didn't know how to act in that moment. Now, though, oh my God, she, when we were getting married in 2015, I said to them, look, I really want you to come to our wedding, but I understand if you don't understand it. And she didn't understand it, but she came, and she tried, and she really tried to make. My dad didn't come because he said, I love you both. You don't need my blessing, but I find that kind of thing difficult. And I'm like, totally fine, totally get it. And other people were like, oh, it's really sad your dad's really missing out, and I can't believe your dad's neglecting like that. So my dad's not neglecting me. He's finding his way to be. And it's okay. I don't mind that. His loss that he's missed out on a beautiful day. But at the same time, I'm really proud of him for being honest with me up front and saying, I'd rather not be there and be miserable and not understand it and not find it comfortable than being forced to be there. And I'm like, good with that.
Yeah, sure.
But now we're in a place where we're all roses. Everything's beautiful. They come and stay with us. I go stay with them. Everything is as normal as it should be, if you like.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because it's same with my mom. My mom is so into like my husband. Yeah. So it's like, oh, thank God that you're taking care of my son. He's such a spoiled brat, blah, blah, blah. Like they'll talk smack about me during dinner. And I'm like, really?
I'm right here.
Yeah, I'm right here. Yeah.
God. And because Johnny loves to cook, my mum gives him the recipes, and he likes to cook Greek dishes. So she's giving him everything. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah. And then because he likes to cook, but he also likes football, so he can talk to my dad. And I'm just like, man, I'm just going to talk about musicals. I'm just here talking about Gypsy and, everything else that comes to mind.
I love that. Well, Andy, we got to wrap up. I thank you so much for joining us
Oh, you're so
today.
welcome.
If you don't mind, I'd love to have you come back as one of my regular go-tos. And
Anytime.
yeah, I think like you know what I'm gonna do. I'll set like a thing with Instagram where we start hitting every 1,000. I'll have to bring you in
Every
because
1,000. I love
yeah,
that.
when you and I first got together, we were under 100 followers.
Wow,
Wow.
that's
We're up to
amazing.
6,700. You know, and
You have
it's
to keep
nice to
on
just
getting a
see.
balloon, giving the number.
Yeah. So I'll do that every time we hit 1,000. I'm gonna say, Andy, it's time to come back and like
Oh,
and like talk about look what we've done.
nice. Yeah, I want to hear more about Coco's story. I'm just sitting here just rambling on, talking my life. I have not heard anything about you guys.
I mean, hey, if you don't mind sticking around, that's really where we're at because I want to go in deep to and check in with Coco because Coco's gone through a lot of things. And Coco, I don't know how much of that you want to share and make
Well,
public,
you
but
guys,
like,
no, you guys do your thing. Do your thing together.
yeah,
That's necessary, and we'll do each other another time.
of course, absolutely. Coco, tell us
As
everything.
the gays do. Tell you everything? Like, okay.
I mean, my
Um,
God, like the last time we chatted, we were like, selling farm animals, and so
Coco,
it's
do you want me to stick around? Do you want to have this chat with Gayru on your own? I'm good to go. I've got to teach a class in about 45 minutes anyway. So if you guys just want to have a powwow between you, I'm good to go. Please don't feel bad to say that.
oh
well,
you
I absolutely 100% don't like want you to leave. So,
Ah, okay, cool.
yeah.
I'll stick around for a
So,
little longer if that's okay.
of
so
course.
I like you can also rant, like I could go into any category. So, Gayru, do you want to hear? I wish I could ask the audience right now, like, do you want to hear about what's going on with me now, or do you want to hear, like some reflections on like what some of my journey was like? I could go into the past.
I would like for you to share what's on your mind in this moment. I'm sure our 6 viewers will love anything that you talk about.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
since
Remember, this is our chat. Like we're gonna pretend nobody's listening, and this is how we roll. And let's just give the community how we usually do things around here.
right on, right on. Okay. Well, so my honest experience at the moment is trying to not turn some of everybody's different. Everybody experiences life differently, and I'm really impressed by some parts of your story, especially like the compassion and grace that you extended to your parents and to your family for their reaction to you speaking your truth and being who you are, because that part of my story did not go well at all either. And I recently watched, I mean, this weekend, I watched a movie called, oh man, I'm so bad with numbers. I wish I could remember the number. I think it's called 1946.
Oh, I think
Um,
maybe.
well, it's an entire documentary about when did homosexual, the term, enter the Bible, the modern version of the Bible for the first
Wow.
time. And it's such a deeply embedded thing in our culture, homophobia and its connection with conservative politics and Christianity. And this also ties in with our theme of, like just denial and how difficult that is. But this is fact. Homosexual was not a term, and it definitely did not come from the original text that the modern version of the Bible is based on. And conservative and fundamentalist Christians like my family and my parents freak out, like just completely get so triggered if you even suggest that what is written in the Bible now might not be exactly true, or it might be faulty. It might not be a good translation. There could be different meanings. There could be different perspectives. People like my parents just get triggered, and because they're very fundamentalist. But that entire side of culture, the conservative Christians and fundamentalist Christians, they're in denial, and it triggers them so much because they have to admit that they've been wrong, like their whole life. And people like my parents, like their whole life, their whole truth, their whole worldview, their whole way of voting is based on fucking bullshit. And obviously I'm very angry about this, very passionate about it. I just am. Um, and it's just, it's so hard for them to like to take in information like this, that, oh my God, we've hurt tons of people with our teaching. We've hurt tons of people with our messed up truth. What we've believed is not real. But I had to go through that. I was a conservative fundamentalist Christian because I was raised to be that. And so coming out for me was such an intense and traumatic thing. I had to like ditch my entire worldview so that I could see and embrace myself and like form a new worldview and a new truth and a new understanding. I was in deep denial. So when I came out, there was no chill way to do it. There was just no chill way to do it. It was like I had to make this declaration that I had been living a lie, that I had been, also like homophobic. And there was no chill way to just kind of transition into like, oh, I'm going to be with men now. So I had to make that declaration to my parents, and their reaction was, of course, extremely triggered, extremely fearful, and they shoved a bunch of like homophobic scripture down my throat. Like telling just the classic horrible response. But yeah, I watched this documentary that kind of like really, I didn't need to know this for me to accept myself or to let go of the Bible. I already did that. But it's just so crazy that the word homosexual didn't enter the Bible until 1946. Before that, all these verses that fundamentalist Christians think are about, two men loving each other and being in a relationship together, two men consensually having sex together. They're actually about pedophilia and rape and sexual abuse. And so it's just insane how much damage that has done to the entire world in such a short period of time, and such a deeply embedded belief. And so many people are in deep denial about it, because admitting and understanding and being like, oh my God, we were wrong, just opens up this whole huge thing for so many people that they don't want to do it. They don't want to say sorry. They don't want to rewrite that truth. They don't want to admit that that wasn't God. That wasn't Jesus. That was like politics, fear, and hate.
Yeah, and power. And
power.
So can I ask now then, Coco, how does religion sit with you? Are you completely anti-religion now, or are you able to find a religion believing that God doesn't hate, and you can be part of that as well? Or are you completely, either is okay, it's just a curiosity?
I'm not atheist, and I don't think any yogis really actually are, even if they, use that word. I guess literally I am atheist because I steer clear of getting sucked into any specific dogma or theology or viewpoint, but I still pray. I'm still very much connected with source, and I still talk to God almost in a similar way to how I used to. It's like I'm talking to my higher self. I just now understand that God is not a judging sky daddy that's like so angry and judging towards me. So my talking to God is now like way more productive, because I'm not just like, I'm so horrible, God, I'm so sorry, like please make me not gay, like please fix my relationship with or help me to have a relationship with my parents. I'm just like, whew, like I'm done.
I love that for you. I really do, because there's a saying, I remember it as a kid. I remember having a conversation with my godfather, and he's such a religious man, lovely man, but very religious. And he said, you should have the fear of God. And I said, why should I have the fear of God? I want to have the love of God. I don't want to have the fear of God. I don't want to fear him. And it's that, what you just said, it's not that, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm such a horrible, rather than, thank you for making me the person that I am, because this is all, I'm awesome,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm not angry at God, but I do find myself to be very like on edge about religions in general, and not very tolerant, because they're all boxes that trap people to some extent. They're all dogmatic. they all are conditioning people to have certain beliefs that may or may not be true or may not be helpful. And as a yogi, I feel like, yoga means union. We're trying to like break down the barriers that divide people and bring people together. And so I'm not the type of yoga teacher that's very like calm and sensitive and tolerant about like, oh, like you can be a Christian and be a yogi. And I'm like, yeah, to some extent. But like at a certain point, those barriers are going to have to come crumbling down. You have to let go of being certain about things. You have to let go of your version of the truth. You have to let go of your version of right and wrong. And so I feel like really and truly the process of yoga is stripping away. And eventually, everybody's going to be brought to this place of letting go so that we can transcend the mind and beliefs and all of that stuff. So I'm more of the type of yoga teacher that's kind of like ready for people to do some letting go of beliefs.
I love that because you've got Shiva, haven't you? The god the destroyer that destroys everything to build us back up in a way to expand our minds and open us up.
Yeah,
right.
Radical truth over there. That's what it's a radical honesty.
Truth.
Yeah, the radical truth and radical honesty. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, if I'm going to say, I'm gay and that's how I identify, and people are saying, well, as long as you don't do this, like there's a condition. Like that's one thing that I trip off on religion. It's like, by the way, I love all religions, like however you serve. Like at the end of the day, when you come to my house, this is how we serve. This is how we play. You know what I mean? So I want that common mutual respect. But that's the thing growing up in the 80s, for me, I'm a little bit bruised from that because, this God hates fags posters. And, there was this kid, Ryan White. He was a kid and he had AIDS and people were standing outside his door saying, you deserve this. That's the thing that trips me out. Like, I know that could be a little extreme, but to Coco's point, it's like you cannot help but still know that nail is still stuck there. And until you're like ready to like rip that off real quick, you can't really be open. And I think that's where, I think that's where yoga is all about, is talking about like non-attachment and surrendering and letting go. And at the same level, at the same time, it all gets to be here. You know what I mean? And so there's that idea of making space for everybody unconditionally. And
not only making space for the people that you think are worthy, making space for
right,
even
absolutely,
the people that you don't agree with, even the people that you don't believe in. Of course, have your voice, but also at the same time have compassion, because even if they don't agree with you, or if they don't speak what you speak, they may have a version of events that you might be able to be interested in or be inspired by, or just understand that it's not for you, but that's okay. They're still not a bad person.
Right, absolutely.
Yes.
At the end of the day, when we talk about like this, like source, higher power, like something bigger than yourself, so on and so forth, I would ask a simple question to somebody who's like deep into the religious Catholic or Christian faith. It's like, will you be open to, instead of just Jesus, would you be open to a Jesus? You know what I mean? Like, is it okay? Do you think that
maybe if you ask certain women, they might be?
Yeah, but it's like, do you think it's
like,
possible? Yeah, do you think it's possible? Yeah, it's okay that shows up different for me. That's all. That's all. Is it possible that maybe my connection doesn't look like the way it's connected to you? Is that possible? You know what I mean? Like, is my sexuality, is it possible that I don't perform sex like you do? Is that possible? That's really at the end of the day, for me, that's what inspires me to have these conversations, because there's species out there that we haven't even discovered yet, and yet here we are like bashing each other in terms of like what's right, what's wrong. And
it's such a waste of energy. It's so
right,
stupid.
right. Yeah. But and that's what I love about Coco. It's like he and I always explore this idea. It's like, let's just remain open. Let's stay open, because that's why we do this work, is to try to bring more people to connect, and also like start to elevate a little bit more than what you were yesterday.
And also I've stopped, and that's one of the reasons why I've stopped being so activist-y about things, because it's a waste of my energy. And a few years back, I would argue points, political points, everything point. And now I see lots of people, and if you do it, that's totally fine. I've got no issue with it at all. But everyone has an opinion and puts it on social media, and they talk about all that's going on in the world, all the bad, all the good, everything that's going on, and they have their opinions and they say this, and I'm like, and they're like, oh my God, I don't believe, why aren't you putting something on there? You've got a platform to speak. Because it's a waste of my energy. I don't think that I'm going to change your view unless you're open to it.
Absolutely.
But in this moment, me and you are having this conversation, I don't think you're open to it. And that's totally fine. You need to go find your space. But I'm not going to sit there and argue with you until it makes me angry, because I'm not holding your fucking rocks. I'm not going to sit here and hold your rocks. No thanks. You hold your rocks. I'm good with everything. So you hold your rocks, let them be heavy for you, let your arms get tired, let yourself be angry about it. I'm not good, I'm good with it. So you move and hold your own rocks. Thank you very much.
Oh my
I
God.
totally agree with
yeah.
you. Like the social justice warrior Yogi is a very frustrating character, because I got in a fight with the social justice warrior Yogi on Instagram. I don't even remember. I don't even know who she is or how I got connected with her. But she made a post that annoyed the shit out of me. She was like, "I see you, yoga teacher, not posting about Israel, Palestine, blah blah blah. You posted about this, but you're not posting about this. How can you call yourself a yogi?" And I was just like, first of all, let's talk about non-judgment. Let's talk about staying in your lane. Let's
Don't
talk
even
about,
first of all it, just delete.
yeah, let's talk about how everybody gets to use their platform and speak in the way that they feel is productive, or maybe people don't know how they feel yet, or like it's okay that people mourned the death of that person if they were whatever. And also, you are not speaking about every single injustice that's happening in the world. That's the main one that's in the media right now, but there are like horrible things happening all the time, and you're not talking about all of them.
How do you know that but what I believe is your injustice is the same what I believe is my injustice? Get out of it. It's
yeah.
just
Right. I believe in free expression and letting people do things the way they do. So I'm not a social justice warrior, but sometimes I will throw out opinions on like where I stand on certain things, but it's mostly to sympathize with those who may need to who may like be uplifted in some way to see that I side with them. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. It's really more for sympathizing with certain
No,
issues.
and that's cool. And this is what I was saying, because I used to do that quite often about 5-6 years ago. And I've just decided that's not where I want to put my energy now. I don't want to put my energy with like everyone. And everything is now Palestine, Israel, everything is on. It's all over the place. And I'm just like, I'm not going to give you my view. I'm not going to give you my opinion unless my opinion is going to make the biggest difference and stop all the shit that's going on. I don't want to get into an argument with you about it, because you believe what you believe. I'll believe what I believe. And maybe I believe both. Shit, what happens if I believe both? Or what happens if I agree with both? What, am I allowed to agree with both? And then if I tell you that I agree with both, are you going to hate me? How's that going to work? So I'm just, I'm not even going to put it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another way that social media can just be very polarizing and divisive, and
but also beautiful, because look at us, we're all connected.
Yes, and also beautiful. But just like, a reason that we should all like keep it in check in our lives and
Exactly.
really think about how we're using it, why we're using it, take breaks from it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I'm
need to
gonna
do more of that.
yeah. My takeaway today is I don't want to hold your rocks.
Yeah, see, I don't want to hold your rocks.
I'm gonna use that in class tomorrow.
I think I heard Skunk Anansi say that, or Skin from Skunk, Skin, Skunk Anansi, the band.
No.
What? They're
I'm
a
in the
band
US.
from the 90s. You got to check out Skunk Anansi, Skin. They're incredible. You know the song Weak, Weak as I Am. Weak as I am. Oh, dude.
Sorry.
I'll send it to you. Check it out.
Okay, send it to me.
I think she said it once years ago. I remember listening to her saying, I'm not here to hold, I can't remember how she phrased it, but I've always used it. It's always inspired me to think, if you're going to be heavy with all this anger and with all this whatever against me you're feeling, you make your own arms tired, because the only thing you want to do is give me your heaviness. I don't want that. I'm quite light and I'm good. You hold it. You hold it. You deal with it. If you want to be angry about it, if you want to be homophobic, if you want to be sexist, if you want to be whatever you want to be it. And I'm good with that. But just don't give it to me, because I'm good with the way I am. Thank you very much.
Love it.
Or just drop the weight and don't pick it back up. Don't give it to anybody.
Right, right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not giving it back to you, but they're still somehow holding it. So you hold it, you make your own arms heavy if you don't want to try and drop it. It's good. I'm good with that. Exactly.
All right, boys. It's time to wrap it up. Andy, it's so I don't know why I don't talk to you more often. Like I feel like sprung to the next level just seeing
I think it's
hearing you.
timings, isn't it? It's a lot
good.
of time and
Yeah, it's good.
You're like 60,000 hours and ahead or behind or wherever you're at. I don't really know what the times are there, but I think that's the issue. It's the same is with a lot of people, like with Alex in Australia, Luke in Australia, all these people that I talk to. It's always difficult. I'm about to go to bed and they're messaging me and I'm like, no, let's not start this conversation now because I'm about to go sleep.
I love it.
Do what you got to do, boys. So lovely to speak with you both.
Andy,
Andy.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon, sweetheart. Thank you for joining us, okay?
The energy.
Love and light, boys. Love and light. All that beautiful energy.
The energy and radiance and joy that you exude is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. And same with you. And I love the rainbows underneath the arms. Every time it's like a splash of color. Bring it. Bring it. I love that. And then next time we're on, you can teach me how to use a Rogue microphone. Okay, goodbye, guys. Let's love.
Ciao.
See you later.
All right, guys. That was our episode. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please subscribe, leave us a review, and come back next week. And we hope you have an amazing day on and off the mat.